Welcome to InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw. A woman without a home and no shelter, especially at night, is in constant danger. Who is she? Someone young, or with children, or elderly. There are over 450 women living on the streets in Marion County. All need a safe place to sleep at night and hope. No one knows that better than my guest, Linnell Wilcox, who spends her nights at Safe Sleep United, an overnight low-barrier shelter providing a safe place for unsheltered women to sleep at night. Since its founding by an elder of InSight Out Ministries in 2019, this non-denominational low-barrier shelter has grown from 10 beds to 19, and thanks to the city, county, and state, they now have a total of 50 beds. What is Safe Sleep United, and what prompted a huge remodel to provide those beds? What are they doing to help women beyond a night's safe sleep? What is Safe Sleep United doing that works? Here with those answers and a lot more questions is my guest, Linnell Wilcox, the program manager of Safe Sleep United here in Salem. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I have to ask you, what's the first thing you say to a woman arriving at your shelter for an overnight stay?
Welcome.
Welcome.
And then we have an intake process and an orientation and a tour, but first it's welcome. We're glad you're here.
How did this get started? It started with a church and an elder in that church.
InSight Out Ministries is a Seventh-day Adventist church that chose to reach out to people experiencing homelessness, and they have Bible studies and elders that were running some of the Bible studies, and some of the women elders were meeting with women, getting to be their friends, and then hearing stories that were just devastating and appalling about the dangers that women were experiencing and the harm that they were experiencing being outside. And Diane Rush is one of the elders, and she later told me that after hearing some of these stories, God told her she needed to start a shelter for women, and it needed to be open from 7 to 7 and shelter 50 ladies and be called Safe Sleep. And then she was shopping around for how to make that happen. She was talking to realtors, people who own buildings. She went to United Way. Rhonda Wolf is the CEO of United Way, and she ended up sharing that, you know, we could do this. We could help you find a building. And Diane said, well, God's kind of like looking for someone to help run this. And Rhonda shared, we don't do that. You know, when we helped Taylor's House, was a teen shelter, young adult shelter that a high school student thought should happen. So United Way involved that teen on their board and helped that teen learn how to get grants and raise funds, and they bought a house and renovated it, and they gave it to Arches to run that shelter. A different teenager had suggested that we need a shower for people experiencing homelessness, so they involved that teen on their board to kind of make all of that happen, and they have a shower truck, and Arches runs that. So they explained to Diane, you know, we can help the thing happen, but we don't run the thing. And Diane kind of said, well, God told me someone's going to help run it. And next thing we knew, Rhonda was offering to, like, okay, we'll run this program. So that's how we happened. And at the time, InSight Out's church had an office space on half, and their tenants left, and they offered that to Safe Sleep.
What services do you provide there to take care of their needs when they're overnight?
So we provide, when ladies first come in, we do an intake. We have a warm bed for you. We have a hot dinner. We offer services, supports, referrals, information, resources. You can sleep safely. That's our whole mission, is to provide safe sleep, hoping that the stability of a place to come and go from and sleep in safety will enable you to have a little bit of centering and be able to heal and move forward. And then we offer a continental breakfast. We are just overnight, so we open at 5:45 p.m. and we close at 7:30 in the morning. So ladies would get up and have a breakfast, make their bed, do a chore, and then head out for the day with the resources that we share and provide. And we also offer pajamas. And in the very beginning, people can borrow pajamas, and Diane was very excited about the pajamas, and she was all about the pajamas. And the first year or so, I only worked graveyard shift, and I couldn't understand why she cares so much about the friggin' pajamas. But then when we had more staff, I was able to open. And when you're opening, you're saying, come on in, welcome, have a warm place, have a cozy bed, have a hot meal, and by the way, do you want some pajamas to sleep in? And some ladies would break into tears and just say, I haven't had anything warm and cozy and pretty to sleep in for weeks or months or years. So now I'm all about the pajamas too. But they can borrow the pajamas, put them under their pillow, wear them again the next day. After a few days, they can give them back. We wash them and give them back. So ladies have the option to also have cozy pajamas.
That's really rather moving, and it only probably touches on just what these women have been through, their horrific stories.
Yes, we have, as a low barrier shelter, we have women who have just had abuse, neglect, poverty, living in cars, living in tents, living in camps, all the way to women who had a wonderful life and maybe your partner died and you can't afford the rent or the mortgage with just one person. Women who've had, a so-called normal life and illness or other expenses come up and you can't make ends meet anymore. One woman shared that she was living in a place and it was wonderful, except that her partner was very abusive. She ended up reporting the abuse, and he got arrested and went to jail. And I'm like, yay. As she's telling me this, she's like, not yay. I wasn't on the lease. Once he's in jail, I've got nowhere to live. So she became homeless because she reported the abuse and he went to jail, which we would think is a really good thing, but it left her homeless. We have people who've just aged out of foster care and don't have a place to go. People who there were some veterans, this is more male and female, but some veterans were experiencing so much PTSD that they were keeping their families up at night, and they decided, I can't do this. It's going to be better for my family if I leave so that they can get some sleep at night even though I can't. So it's the full gamut, from people who have never would have thought they'd become homeless to people who've kind of been living in poverty and on the edge for a long time. So it's a very big spectrum, and we're trying to welcome and support and provide safe sleep to anyone who needs that.
What type of low barrier shelter are you? What do you allow and what do you not allow?
So there's an actual HUD definition of low barrier, and basically low barrier shelters welcome your property, because in general, people won't go to a shelter if they have to leave their people, property, or pets, the 3 Ps. So you can bring your property within reason. It has to fit neatly under a twin-size bed, or some of the bigger things, we have our storage room where you can have some things. You can bring your female people, because we're a women's shelter, and you can bring your pets as long as your pets are well behaved. Low barrier shelters don't screen for drugs, alcohol, criminal history, mental illness. It's all about how are you behaving right here, right now.
Tell me, how long do you get to stay there? And do you have kind of a core group of people who everybody knows, or they know each other, who've been there for some time?
So we are a temporary emergency shelter, so we tell our ladies when we're first doing an intake that we can have them for up to 30 days. And we also share along the way that if people are doing things to move forward, have a plan, goals, and steps, then we're going to keep people. So it really becomes dependent on the individual. Is their behavior respectful? Are they able to be independent? Are they able to leave each day, do a chore each day? And are they doing things to move forward? Then there's just not enough housing or other shelter opportunities for people to have a place to go. So especially now that we've had the expansion and we have 50 beds, we have the flexibility to be able to say, well, you know, your 30 days are up, and you're still trying to develop plans and goals, but stay, let's keep going, and let's keep walking alongside you and see what we can do as far as helping you move forward towards the things you want.
Walking alongside them, how important is that to them?
I don't think anyone comes in and says, I need someone to walk alongside me. That's really rare. It's more like doing it ends up being very appreciated, because there's Stephen Goins is the executive director of Northwest Human Services, and he has an amazing conversation about the homeless brain, and it's really the trauma brain. And it was so eye-opening when I had the opportunity to hear him speak, because he talks about living in survival mode literally changes your brain wiring. You're literally in fight or flight. So when I would look at a lady and it's like, you just need to make a few phone calls, they can't if they're still in survival mode. If they're still in fight or flight, the part of your brain that can do the planning and the organizing and making the calls, that part hasn't been able to be used because they've needed to be in fight or flight for so long. So many things that I thought, why don't they? Why can't they just make a call? Why don't they just get a job? If you're struggling with addiction, why don't you just go to rehab? If you're struggling with mental health, why don't you go to a psychiatrist, get some meds, and then you're good, right? And then you find all the reasons that none of those premises are accurate, and it changes every single thing. The most vivid was a woman who shared with me that she would scream at lampposts outside. The voices in her head were just making her scream. And she said, Linnell, I went to a psychiatrist, I got meds. The only meds that help the voices give me extreme diarrhea. As a homeless person, what am I going to do when I have a sudden attack of diarrhea? She said, I'd rather be the person who everybody looks at and thinks there's that crazy lady yelling at the lamppost than there's that woman who has poop in her pants. And I had to think, if I had that choice, I'd make the same decision. So nothing that I thought would be easy, why don't you just? None of it's easy. And that's been so eye-opening, and it changes everything. You know, now it's not like I'd go up to a woman, why don't you just make the phone call? It's, I'll share a resource, and I'll share that she, you know, if you call here, this is the information and resources and support that would be available to you. But if it seems like she's not doing that, instead of saying, why won't she do that, I'm more likely to go to, so maybe this is something she's not able to do yet. Maybe I need to take her or go with her or make a call if I can. And maybe there's other resources that can do more case management than an overnight shelter can do. So sometimes our answer is to refer someone to a different shelter, just depending on the person. We do have some people who are just not in a position to move forward, but because of our expansion, we can shelter those ladies too, as long as their behavior is not dangerous to anyone. So we have some women who are just struggling in ways where they're not going anywhere yet. And we don't know, how often do you plant a seed before it sprouts? How often can you bring someone to a resource and have it work out for them? But the fact that they're not moving forward yet, there's some people we're going to let stay over extended time because there's really no place else for her to go. And now we have enough beds to be able to have that available to some women, even if they're not moving forward. And that's just part of the spectrum, the people who can just go get a job and, now they've got an apartment and everything's good, to the people who are not seeming to go anywhere yet, and yet you never know what's going to be the catalyst.
Has your population of women changed over time?
It does seem like we're seeing more and more women and getting more phone calls for people who are 50s, 60s, even 70s. When I was younger, I thought, by the time you're in your 60s, you're retired and have Social Security and you're set for life. But that was very naive. So there's just, even for women who are on Social Security, SSI is only like $9.41 a month. So how does somebody get by on that? So there's more and more people who are aging, experiencing disabilities, experiencing incontinence, which is going to be hard to do on an upper bunk. So we're juggling the beds we have with the women who are calling and coming in, what their physical disabilities are, what their mental disabilities are, what their capacity is, and how can we share resources, information, supports to help them develop the stability, not just in your, we value emotional health, physical health, mental health, and the stability of a place to live. So trying to help people navigate all of those directions.
You sound like your experience actually changed your perspective from what it used to be, what was that, and how it is now.
One of the questions we ask when we're hiring people is, have you had any life experiences that kind of changed your premises about big things? And my first experience working with people who are experiencing homeless was warming centers. I was volunteering, and that changed a perspective of everything, because it's not just the work in this shelter work. It's overall, why are so many people homeless? Why don't they just get a job? Why don't they go get detox and recovery? Why don't they get mental health meds? And I had a premise in my own head that if I worked hard and saved money, I'm never going to be one of them. And I had to flip that and realize that that premise really means that I'm implying inside of my own head, so far back I didn't even know I was implying it, that anyone who is homeless didn't work hard and didn't save well. And I had to whoa, I didn't know I thought that, but part of me did. And one of the people that kind of changed my mind dramatically, every single person that I've worked with and served has changed my mind, but one person was a child psychiatrist. He was making over $100,000 a year. He experienced a traumatic brain injury and a stroke. So he had to learn how to walk, how to write, how to do everything all over again. But in the meantime, he didn't have family who were going to manage his money, and with a stroke and a TBI, he wasn't managing his money, or his medical expenses were so big that he ran out of money. So he ended up homeless. Here's someone who's making $100,000 a year, a professional with a good life, a home and everything, and just a health crisis brought him back to not even square one, but lower than he'd ever been. And all of these stories just keep reminding me this could happen to anybody, anytime. People need to understand that this isn't just us and then them. This is your next door neighbor. This could be your mom. This could be your kid. The person who bags your groceries could be going down an embankment and sleeping in a tent every night, because I met someone like that. She said, she was keeping her camp very, very tidy, and it was kind of hidden, but every day she got off her full-time job, her camp supplies would be stolen. So she had to keep spending her paychecks to buy the supplies to be able to sleep at night. And that's someone who's working full-time. So it just it's changed everything, I think, about everything.
Is there any brace of techniques or approaches that you find really works with people to help them make that transition out of the streets and into perhaps something more permanent?
I wish that my answer is yes, and here's how to do that. But what we've learned at Safe Sleep, and it's interesting sometimes when you have new people, new staff, and they think, oh, I did this and it worked, so this is the way. And we thought that too. What you find is that if you find something that works, that was with that person that time, and you have no idea if it's going to work with another person or if it's even going to work with that same person a different time, because everything is so changing. But in general, trauma-informed care, understanding that the individuals we're serving have been through hell and back in general. They've experienced so much discrimination. They're often treated like they're either vermin or they're invisible. They're honked at, yelled at, cursed at, had things thrown on them. I've spoken with men that would be afraid to go out at night to sleep until it was all dark because they were so ashamed of being homeless, and they would wake up with people from the bars peeing on them. It's like, how do you survive just the ongoing dehumanizing treatment that you get every single day? So treating people with humanity, with dignity, with respect, with awareness that these people that we're serving have so often been through trauma and discrimination. So just saying hello, it makes a difference. And to me, you know, if I'm somewhere and I see someone who's homeless, I'm going to say hello, not just because I now feel like it's the right thing to do. In the past, I would look away because I'm afraid, are they going to ask me for money? You know, do I want to give money? I don't know if I want to give money. Should I give money? Shouldn't I give money? If somebody is asking for money, should I go buy a sandwich instead? There's all these questions in my own head, so it's easier just to look away, don't make eye contact, hope they don't talk to me. But now I feel like, no, I need to say hi. I need to give that least basic human respect of a hello. And the other thing that I hope is that if someone else is walking down the same block, if they're where I used to be, if they're going to look away, they're going to see me saying hello, and they might think, wow, she's not afraid to say hello. Maybe I should try that. Maybe our acts of dignity and respect can accidentally be contagious, and that gives more and more people just fellow humanity. And I think as we're serving ladies at the shelter or anywhere in life, if you give dignity, respect, a hello, a welcome, that can open the door for someone to feeling worthy, to someone feeling hope, for someone possibly being able to come out of some of the trauma and do some healing and maybe be able to pursue some of their hopes and dreams. And a hello is not going to be that magical, but it is at the same time, because you're at least giving someone the respect of acknowledgement as a fellow human being. And I feel like that makes a huge difference. And I've had people tell me, there was one guy, I was at Winco and I was leaving and I had just bought water, and he was asking for money and I didn't have money, but I had a pen in my hands and I had water. I said, I can give you water. And he's like, that would be great. He said, but more than that, you smiled at me and you said hello. That made my day. And then he asked if he could have my pen. I'm like, it's purple. And he's like, yeah, it's the best color, right? I'm like, yeah, okay, have my pen. So, but yeah, being able to give people the fellow humanity, the worthiness of a hello and an acknowledgement of being a fellow human being. And that makes a lot of difference. And then, you know, shelter-wise, being there for our ladies, working with them, building rapport and relationships, sharing resources and information. And sometimes people will just come out of their shell slowly, and you never know when it's going to happen. But I think I had told you there was one woman who had come in and she had been violently raped and she was practically catatonic. I was taking her to the crisis center each morning because she couldn't navigate anything, even though she said she used to be able to. But she was wearing baggy clothes and she was hardly able to talk. And after being with us for a while, we got a donation of clothing, and it was really pretty clothing. Usually we want jeans, t-shirts, sweats, leggings, things that are pretty casual. But someone had brought in some nicer clothes, and I would usually bring those to Helping Hands. And for some reason that morning I just thought I'd put them out in the lobby and tell the ladies, help yourself to anything you want. And she came up to me and she had chosen 2 dresses that were just a slight fit and flare. And she showed them and held them up, and she said, I think I'm ready to look like a girl again. So she wasn't letting the rapist win. So it's like just being there as a fellow human being can sometimes help someone feel worthy again, maybe. There was another lady she had no opinions about anything. If we asked her, do you want salad with your dinner? She would be just, I don't know. And it's like, okay, I'll put some salad on your plate. Eat it if you can, don't eat it if you can't. And one day she asked me if we had a shirt she could have, and I gave her a pink shirt. And she thanked me. But then she asked, do you think I could have a green one? And so many people would think, well, beggars can't be choosers, and how entitled. You gave her a free shirt, and now she wants a different color. But she said, I just remembered today that green is my favorite color. So she remembered who she was, and then she was brave enough to ask for it. So, if I didn't have a green shirt around, we're getting a damn green shirt. So those things, just by kind of living together and offering fellow humanity, can sometimes help someone heal enough to figure out who they are or what their favorite color is when they had previously forgotten that. I joke, some of the ladies that we serve can sometimes be a little bit challenging. Maybe they have opinions, and it's like when you're raising your kid, you want your kid to be able to question authority politely, and not just take anything as word from anyone, but that means they're going to do it with you too. But that comes with the territory. So when we have a woman who comes in and has no hope, no no opinions, those are the ones I worry about more than the women who come in and know what color they want, and can I have this with my dinner instead of that, and can you get Caesar dressing instead of ranch? Those are the women who still remember who they are and are brave enough to ask for it. So let's celebrate that, and let's hope that we can get more opinions from the people who don't have them yet, who don't yet remember who they are. So it's the being together, building relationships, giving safe sleep to people so they're not terrified at night. Some women have shared they didn't have any drug problem until they became homeless because it's so dangerous on the streets, and meth will keep you up at night. So they would do meth specifically so they can stay up and be safe, and then they can sleep in the daytime when there's foot traffic and people can see and watch for anything that might be unsafe. So you can develop a drug problem just to keep yourself safe because it's dangerous to sleep at night. Who's going to be there? What's going to happen to you? So there's so many things that are just more dangerous and there's more nuances than I ever would have known.
Lynelle, how can people help?
So as a generality,
I have learned a great deal that I did not know just from listening to you, I'll be honest. So,
as a generality, acknowledge people, say hello, and hope those hellos become contagious. Recognize your fellow human beings. Whatever you think of homelessness or people who are homeless, acknowledge your fellow human beings. So that's like a real generality. As far as, how can you help? Every shelter is doing work like this. Every shelter has a website or a Facebook page and lists what their needs are. We have our ongoing needs of, all our consumables, paper towels, coffee, tea, creamer, milk. We could freeze milk. I didn't know you could freeze milk. So we can get more gallons than we realized because you can freeze milk. Grated cheese, sanitizing wipes. There's a whole list on our website. Our current biggest needs are coffee, creamer, sanitizing wipes, napkins, and snacks to go.
what is your website?
Safe Sleep United has a Facebook page, and that has more current information than the United Way website. So Safe Sleep United Facebook page, and you can just call it up in Facebook and it'll be there.
Do you have volunteer opportunities?
We do. We currently have enough staffing on mornings, but we could use some volunteers probably from 6:30 to 5:30 to 8:30. So anyone who's interested in that can let me know, and that could be on the Facebook page.
Remarkable. All your stories, the ways that you interact with people, and how much it helps to just say hello.
It really makes a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
for joining me today on InSight. And thank you for joining me on InSight today. I'm Wendy Brokaw. If you or someone you know needs help or is in crisis, call 988. 988 offers 24/7 judgment-free support for mental health, substance use, and more. Text, call, or chat 988.